Welcome to Transformation with Martine. Conquer everything and compromise nothing. This show brings you real, raw, and vulnerable conversations. If you have never liked small talk and have been on a personal growth journey for a long time, stay tuned as Martine and her guests share empowering stories. Now is the time to own your past and look toward your future with hope. Believe in your dreams, and all that you want to achieve is possible. Transformation Coach Martine helps you accept and love you for you. It's time to listen to your heart and tap into your unlimited potential. You have the answers you need inside. Sometimes you just need the right guide to help allow transformation to happen. Transformation with Martine starts now.
Welcome everyone to Transformation with Martine. This is where we conquer everything and compromise nothing. Happy Friday. It's a time to have some downtime. It's time to connect with the family, time to, for me, definitely great family and just connecting with nature. That is so important to me. So for those of you who don't know, my show is every Friday, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. And my show is about resilience and overcoming, and actually just the resilience of the human spirit, because we all can overcome anything that happens in our life. We can choose to find the blessings in the adversity and the trauma and all the things that happen to us. We can find the lessons, because if we can dive in and just feel all those feelings and listen to what our soul's trying to tell us, life can be pretty amazing. So without further ado, I want to welcome my guest today, Danielle Duffey. She's got quite a story. As a mom of three, would have been four. I understand her story. I understand her. And there are some clubs in life that you don't choose to be a part of, but it's necessary for our growth. And I believe that everything happens for a reason, even the things that hurt so desperately. Welcome, Danielle.
Thank you, Martine. I appreciate the time so much to be here and to be able to share my story a little bit more further in depth. I'm Danielle, as you said, and I am an Army veteran, Southern Minnesota farm wife to 4 kiddos. And as you mentioned, resilience, that's a huge part of kind of the foundation of my life. Been through a lot of challenges, and a story that definitely had never imagined to be a part of.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Isn't that it? I remember a lot of times that, the main topic of our conversation is losing a child. And there's some things like I just remember in my life, like just thinking, oh boy, I don't think I lived through that one. And there's some things where I'm thinking, or I thought even in my life, from the beginning towards, where it is now, just like, you don't want to experience that. Yes. You can relate to other people, and you can be a beacon of hope, which you and I are for not only this, but other things. But you definitely did not want to experience this. There's some things we want to experience and we're grateful for, but this one is especially.
A lot of grief, experienced the loss of my dad, and other people in my life. And so yes, when we lost our son, our 17-month-old son, Blake, that I wasn't able to process, and whole new world. We had our daughter, Emily. She was 2, almost 3 at that point. So Blake was her best friend. They were 2 peas in a pod. And I remember the exact day pretty camping. So it was Labor Day weekend in 2016. We had the camper ready to go. I made a mac and cheese, and he didn't wake up from his nap. And you're, as you can imagine, we're just in complete shock of the new reality of losing him. He was healthy and happy, and so we had to go to the hospital, and we kind of experienced that process of not really understanding, and it was just this unfathomable moment, that's time that stood still. And so weeks after that, time stood still, and yet we had to parrot through this loss and live life and kind of try to grasp this new normal that we didn't really understand at all. And come to realize that there's a full community of SUDC families, and they've experienced the loss of their child after, from 1 year old to 18 years old. So we all are maybe familiar with what SIDS is, but have really, unless you've experienced that. But SUDC is a form of unexplained grief. Through all the tests and research at this time, there is no explanation of how these children take their last breath. And we've been connected with this SUDC community. I think it's 400 families a year lose their child, like, for unexplained. And it's this foundation that has been able to formulate this community and support research and provide other support to these families. So through that raw, real grief, I felt extremely stuck, really didn't know how to grieve. I grew up in a household where emotions weren't really discussed. And so grief is just a really, really difficult tragedy in your life, in any form of grief. I've experienced a lot of loved ones, losing loved ones, but grief can, be in a lot of different forms.
Yes.
So not being able to know how to grieve felt extremely lonely and helpless, and stuck. So
yeah, it's I don't know, at least for me, and what the people that I've lost, and many immediate family, and it's like I've heard people say, you make room for it. It doesn't go away. You just make room for it. And I don't know about you. I know that different circumstance for me, but fourth child, it's like you can't really grieve. You've got 3 others to take care of. My story. How was it with Emily? She's 2. Like, how do you understand? How do you try to explain to her that he's gone? That how do you even do that?
Right. It's really hard to comprehend, but I do remember moments. Her birthday was a month later, and we hosted a birthday party. So my husband farms, and he was in the field, and I planned the party. We all dressed up. It's around Halloween. I can't even comprehend now, looking back. I shouldn't have had to do that. I think it's just this misconception that grief you're supposed to act a certain way, or there's this rule book of how you're supposed to grieve, and that is absolutely not the case. And I think I wasn't allowing myself to grieve. It's a very confusing time. I almost distinguish life before loss, before losing Blake, and after loss, and I'm still working through that. But I think I was searching for connection with other families, or other moms especially, that have lost a child, that I wasn't able to find right away. It's just having someone to explain it's okay. These are normal feelings, but
Right.
just craving that connection, that belonging at that time. And I wasn't able to find that early on. There's a lot of hindsight now, obviously, through learning through grief and the wisdom carried forth. But just at that time, I mean, there's just you're in survival mode and you're just looking to you're craving that normalcy as well. So having this birthday party for her was what she needed. And
Mm-hmm.
although I am suffering, she can find that joy in those moments, and that's okay. So really struggling or trying to find that normalcy is all, at that time, all we could do. But I think we need to normalize grief. The society doesn't talk, it's a very uncomfortable subject, and it's not normalized. And so there was a lot of just doing the next right thing, the best we knew how.
Right. It's I know with my own grief and some of the guests that I have had on this show, one man who he lost his brother, well, two men that lost their brother. One, it was a freak accident in the ocean, and then another one, he lost his brother just slowly, but through dementia, and it was like a very young age dementia. And I know that, like I said, with my own, it's like any moments of joy that come in, you almost feel guilty. Like how can I possibly feel any type of joy? But I think those are kind of God's way, or however you look at God, universe, however it is, of giving us a little break, or allowing us to feel something other than that. So when you talk about like a normal feeling, like trying to find a normal feeling, is there one?
I think it's almost like trying to focus on something else. So there isn't normal. I think more of the old normal, the routines, the structure is somewhat what we craved a little bit more. And we just did it without knowing really how to. And there's a quote I go back to, actually. It's Jamie Anderson. He says, "Grief, I've learned, is really just love. It's all the love you want to give but cannot. All of that unspent love carries in the corner of your eyes, the lump in your throat, and in the hollow part of your chest."
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I feel that. I mean,
hard to put it into words, but grief is love. And without that, it starts with love. There's no greater love than for your child.
100%. I know that I recently saw this woman a video, and she's talking about like people were trying to console her in the best way they could. Like, "Oh, I know what that's like. I lost my mom." And she goes, "You don't know what it's like. Yes, you've lost your mom. I'm sorry for your loss, but this is my son." I mean, like she was just in her grief, crying like crazy, and just like, "You don't understand." I understand, you understand. I mean, there is no other than a child, and that, like I said, and like she was saying, it doesn't diminish anybody else's loss at all. But a child is a whole different ballgame. It's just different.
It's out of sequence.
It is. That's just it. Even like my dad, because I've lost my two siblings, both of them, and he had other kids from a previous marriage, and he lost one of them. And that shouldn't happen. It's just not something that should happen, but it does. And of course they were adults, but it still, doesn't diminish, because, as a mom now, it's like my youngest is 19, but he's always my baby. My girls are my girls, even though they're in their 20s. It doesn't matter, to us as parents. Yeah. So we'll be back in a few minutes, everyone. More to talk about Danielle's story and just tips on grief. And I want to talk more about the definition for those of you that don't know of what SIDS is, and then losing an older child and going into that as well. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone, to Transformation with Martine, where we conquer everything and compromise nothing. My guest today is Danielle Duffey, and we are talking about the loss of a child. And SIDS is something that you, of course, never expect that's going to happen. But this is you definitely don't expect your baby 17 months to pass away. Before I ask the other question, or what I was talking about before, talking about SIDS versus this, did the doctors have anything to say of what happened? Like, there's absolutely no reason, or?
Right, they did. So our son flew in a helicopter to one of the biggest cities, best healthcare in the country, essentially. And we spent a short time there, just under 8 hours. And they, at that time, had no idea. They did their own testing and monitored. They were able to get his heartbeat back. But it was too late.
Oh my God.
And so we had to make a decision in order to kind of possibly determine what had happened after his hospital stay. So we had just a really short 8 hours at the hospital, and we had to say goodbye. And months later, I mean, the autopsy took 3 long months. They were able to fly in the best of the best doctor to kind of look further, and it was undetermined. He was healthy. It was in the summer, and there was no evidence of suffocation. There was absolutely, it's unexplained. And that's where the difference between SIDS is kind of misinformed as well sometimes. Sometimes SIDS is still unknown, for example, but sometimes you can maybe decide if there weren't, the best sleep habits. But specifically SUDC, through testing, most likely it's unexplained. And so we had to dive deep into our family's history, our genetics. I mean, very complicated research, and it brought up a lot of grief. Essentially, I mean, I imagine anyone wants to figure it out, right? They want closure in something like this. And ultimately, what was determined that my son and I carry a similar gene, but it doesn't mean we carry the same completely. Every body is made up of millions of genes, and it just happens. And so that was an extremely excruciating process, because in that time between his passing and the autopsy, like, we became pregnant with our other son. And so at that time, it was extremely confusing as to, like, how can we be happy when we just lost Blake? And again, just continue to do the best we could, but just like trying to grasp air is kind of what I described it. So again, just kind of deciphering, like, SUDC is an unexplained death of a child between 1 and 18 years old, and just through thorough diagnosis and research review, the exact cause of SUDC remains unknown. And it's a rare and tragic occurrence, obviously. But we've met many families along the way that have experienced a similar situation.
I imagine, I can't imagine, but I imagine like if like trying to just like put myself in there, like it's almost like God gave you another blessing, but at the same time, like how can you be happy? Like you said, it's like here you've got another baby boy. Did you kind of feel like the wonder of that, like this is something joyful, but at the same time, like you said, how can I be happy when I just lost Blake? Like, how do you
I
do that?
There was this unforeseen hope throughout this entire process, and I can confidently say that. I think I remember early in the rawness of the grief where I mean, basically cry all day, every day.
Yeah.
Blake would appear in my dreams. And when we became pregnant, I realized that Blake was there when I needed him, but now Owen, our son, our other son, was the comfort I needed to move forward. I really believe that. Like there was just this unforeseen hope. Of course, you know, the mix of joy and sorrow. I mean, that is what, even to this day, like I'm always in that grief. The void is like deep within my soul, but there's joy. The joys are heightened, and I'm more aware of so many things. And so there's, at that time, I wish somebody would have said it's okay to not be okay, but also it's okay to be okay. And there's nothing wrong in those days. Like, I'm not a burden. We're all human. It's just an unbelievable, tragic circumstance.
Yeah. And that's like what you're saying about it. It's okay to not be okay. It's okay to be okay. It's anything that's right for you, really, because there's so much judgment. I mean, let's face it, right? There's so much judgment, and there's no time limit on grief. There shouldn't be any on this. On anything. We need to support each other, not put each other down, and all that. Or you shouldn't be doing this, or whatever. Some people, may lose a spouse or something and find another one in a year or two. Some people may go or never, and that's all okay, and it's so, and I imagine, like, I lost Blake. It's horribly sad, and I can love Owen, right? That's got to be hard. Yeah, because
But allow yourself to grieve. That, I'm so passionate about that right now. Unapologetically.
Yes.
Allow yourself to grieve.
Yep.
There's so many things I can talk about, whether, what it looks like going back to work, what it looks like in friendships, in family, in self-care, in spirituality, so many things. And one thing that has come out of this after years of essentially suffering in silence, not being able to grieve, is there's just power in the pain now, and this tremendous purpose that I feel to kind of share my story and share advocacy for yourself as the griever.
Yeah, for sure. I was somebody who, for a lot of years, just because of abuse in my childhood and just tremendous loss and things that happened to me, that I kind of shut down. Like, I just got a bit of a hard surface, and anybody who knows me really knows that's not me at all. But I could not, it's just like I couldn't cry anymore. It was like, I couldn't, even though I wanted to. And now it's just like whatever happens, whoever sees me, whatever, And I think it's good when you reach a place like that, because it needs to come out. It really wreaks havoc in the body if you don't let grief out, if you don't feel your emotions, if you don't allow your body to heal, your mind to heal, you know.
It'll come out another way.
Yes, it
For
will.
sure. It will come back. It will come back.
Yeah, there's no doubt
But
about
you
it.
have to
You
learn
can
the
numb
hard way.
yourself, but yeah, I actually was just chatting my daughter a little bit, like, yeah, you can numb yourself with all kinds of things, whatever, but it's not, you know, wherever you go, there you are. Things are gonna, it's always gonna follow you. You gotta let it go. You gotta let it out. Yeah.
I believe that God saved me from myself. That's what I kind of say at this point.
Oh, let's talk about that more.
Yeah. From when I became pregnant with Owen, for sure. There was multiple miracle moments where he saved me from myself. He saved me from leaning on to emotional eating or habits that weren't serving myself.
Yeah. Yeah. And right, I forgot you're a God girl too. Sometimes I don't know, you know, about what people's beliefs are, and you know, whatever anybody believes is totally fine with me, but I'm a God girl. So we'll be right back, everyone, to talk more about Danielle's story and just helpful tips and all that good stuff. We'll see you in just a few. Welcome back, everyone, to Transformation with Martine, where we conquer everything and compromise nothing. My guest today is Danielle Duffey, and we are talking about grief, and specifically the loss of a child. So, Danielle, on the break, we mentioned, you know, the faith journey. We are women of God, and journaling was something that helped you a lot in your grief process. Do you want to tell us about that?
Yes, absolutely. I remember attending actually a speaker here in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and it really opened the doors to the possibility of journaling. And I haven't looked back ever since, but she gave me permission to feel the feelings and just not be afraid of really what's in my heart. And the speaker has a podcast. Actually, it's Jen Hatmaker, and she's just an incredible speaker, and just that gave me the permission. I purchased my first journal, and I started writing pen to paper. And the first journal actually had prompts. It was helpful to kind of have a point to start and guide you through that process. But it's definitely more of an approach of therapeutic journaling, really expressive writing to explore and just better understand yourself. And it helped me to kind of love myself again. And it helped me to feel the emotions and explore further, like, what are my needs? Like, unapologetically, what are my own needs? I could not live any longer in the silence. It wasn't healthy, I should say, to not express how I was feeling on a daily basis. Or when I completely broke down in my car, I needed to figure a way to filter the grief. It couldn't bottle up. When I had a family, I was working outside the home. There were so many things that I wasn't healthy. And so I turned to journaling. And just through that process, it helped me to discover what my own needs are. And one of those needs were to find or cultivate my own community of like-minded women. And we had belonged to a local church, and I really wasn't sure how I find these women. I was still really ashamed. I had guilt of this grief. And so I went to a preschool moms event at the church, and that's where it really unlocked the power and the healing of my grief. And we went around and introduced ourselves, and the worst question you could ever try to have any words are, how many children do you have? And that just completely broke me in that moment. And I shared my story for probably the first time in a large group setting, and I walked away with relief, but also that shame that unfortunately grief can kind of provide. And a couple weeks later, I joined a small group study, and these women who I had journaled about for 2 to 3 years, every single day, I wanted to cultivate a community. I wanted to find my tribe. That day unlocked this power, and I joined that small group. And these women were really placed in my life by this divine design, that I can't live without them now. And it's been almost 4 years now. Like, unbelievable. I know that God placed these women in my life. Like, that is a story to share. And just the misconception about grief, and then even a small group Bible study, there's just power in this love and acceptance that they've provided me, and this understanding and permission, like, to feel the emotions. We all go through hardship. There's like an undoubtable undoubtable definite is that we all have hardship. And just having these women with me by my side has been just remarkable. And that helped me unlock this grief a little bit more. And I keep diving into this journaling. Gratitude practice. That's big. I formulated this habit every single day. I show up. I wake up early every single day, even on the days where literally I have tears coming down. I write any moment of joy that I can grasp. And that has been a powerful way that I can find that joy, just rediscover that joy, even in the midst of so much sorrow that is a lifelong journey. And then the focus too in the journaling has been, how do I nurture my own needs? What do I need within the hour sometimes? Within a few hours. You can't look on that next day. You have to really dig deep into, what are my emotional needs? What are physically, spiritually? I mean, you really have to kind of ask yourself those really hard questions and get to the root of it all. And then again, I mentioned just really, really loving yourself again in this new normal that is really hard to accept.
Right.
But you just keep on showing up for yourself.
That is really big. I know, my husband and I, we do couples therapy. I think it's very important, where no matter what state your marriage is in, to do it, whether it's really good or not. It's just something that, keeps you on an even keel. And I remember saying something like, I'm trying to think of an example, but oh, well, it doesn't even matter. It doesn't even, it's over now. It doesn't even matter. And he was telling me, it's like, why are your needs not important? Like, why are his, but yours, like, not important? Like, it's so easy to put it off to the side. Like, oh, it just doesn't matter. And I realized how often that I do that still, I will just put myself to the side. And sometimes we have to. We're moms, we're busy, we're entrepreneurs, we are, we wear so many different hats anyway. And sometimes that's easy to do. But like you, in the morning, I start out with, first thing, some writing. And then I get myself outside for a long walk. And that's when I take that time for me. And what do I need? Hands over heart often is like, okay, what do I need right now? What do you need? And really talking to myself and figuring that out. But it was just, I think I still need that reminder sometimes to, okay, where are you neglecting yourself? Yeah, everybody else is taken care of. Now, what about you?
Yep, that's absolutely. And if you're not a morning person, then even in the evening, I've been able to, as the kids get older, been able to carve out pockets of time. It doesn't have to be this big grandiose. I take a bath at night with magnesium salt and
Yeah.
a lot of bubble bath. That is like non-negotiable there. But those mindfulness moments are what helps get through the hard times. And the nature aspect, we live out on a farm, and there is nothing like exercise, movement while you're in nature. It is an incredible, powerful healing process. And again, just start small, but it's so important to kind of refuel your needs and just allow what's to come, and what comes through your body without any guilt, which is really hard. And I'm a big advocate of therapy as well. My daughter, I often get asked this a lot, but my daughter, who's now 10, she sees a therapist. I mean, I'm not the professional that can provide what she needs, and she's been able to find someone that she can trust. And it's like play therapy, or it's art therapy, and I can see the transformation in her. And she needs time to grieve as well. I mean, this is a lifelong journey, and I want her to be able to know how to cope when things get hard, and she'll be able to take that away, and we can share the bond that her and I, we dealt with this together, really. And so we can bond over sharing Blake's legacy and talking about the moments that we miss with him. Yeah. So it's a healthier way to move forward in grief.
Mm-hmm. I think therapy and coaching are essential. Absolutely essential. We can't do this alone. We need others. We need our alone time too, but we need others to help us, guide us and get us through this. Is it, if it's okay to ask, and you don't have to answer, obviously, is it hard when she asks you questions?
So there's been times where if we'll be in the car and there's really hard questions, I'm not sure where they're coming from. I don't disregard them, but it just depends on the setting and situation of these questions, honestly. And my husband and I mean, that's another realization. We've grieved differently, and so at times in the past, he maybe won't allow her to cry it out because she's a feeler, she's an empath, and so I allow that. Like, her and I can go talk separately if we need to, and just really help her cope. And she loves art, and so what we try to do together, we journal together, and we do an art project. That is an unbelievable healthy way to support her and what she needs, and just navigating through that kind of rare occurrence. I mean, the other kids don't know my son, and so that's a different part of grieving. And so just kind of assessing that situation as it comes.
Yeah. So we are going to take a break, and we'll be back with final thoughts. And final thoughts. We'll see you in a few minutes, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in. Welcome back, everyone, to Transformation with Martine, where you conquer everything and compromise nothing. We wanted to talk for the last part of our show that journaling is very important to Danielle. It is to me too. It's been a big healer in my whole journey, as it has been to her. So tell us more about your journey and what you've created.
Yeah, so as I've mentioned, therapeutic journaling has been such a powerful healing tool for me. Writing your thoughts and emotions down, there's no judgment. You just it's so releasing for you, and there's an undeniable strength that emerges within someone that has lost a child and such. And it's just given me the power to heal and being able to help others along the way. And it's called the Gratitude Through Grief Journal. So essentially a 90-day journal to discover presence in the pain, joy in the moment, and hope for the future. And it's in loving memory of our son Blake at 17 months. But his memory lives on through these pages of the journal, a tribute to his life and the journey that has marked our life by, and hoping that it does truly help other people. I've been able to connect with so many, and there's just this undeniable love and strength with shared experiences. And I just feel this power and this purpose that I need to do, to put it out to the world. And I'm just so glad that we connected. But it's been a labor of love. So the last couple of years, honestly, even through COVID, it didn't come easy. But this journal has question prompts that have helped me, and the basis of gratitude, nurturing your own needs. Positive affirmations are helpful. And I read a lot of quotes. So there's a quote on for every day for 90 days that focuses on grief and just really sinking through and relinquishing those thoughts, those true thoughts, in grief, and in any sort of grief too, that I'm hoping to kind of provide a little bit of comfort, in the moments of joy and the hope for the future. So it's been a labor of love, that I've been able to put out to the world. And I'd love to connect with other people and hear their stories. It's a powerful testimonial that we can live through loss.
Yes, we
It's
can.
not easy, but we can do it. We keep going and fulfill our needs as it comes. And sometimes even if we don't know the answers, there isn't any, and I don't think we're supposed to know the answers. God didn't create us to know the answers. So just learning through this grief has been pretty unexpected over time. So brings me joy to put this out to the world.
Well, where can everybody find your journal? And we have your social media linked, but where can people find you just to connect and to order?
My name is Danielle Duffey with an E. So if you go to Amazon, type in Danielle Duffey or Gratitude Through Grief Journal, a 90-day journal. And I am very active on Instagram, and my tag is at Danielle Duffey with 2 Y's. So I would be honored to connect with anyone and share more about our journeys. And I'm such a huge connector and just really compassionate to other people that have gone through any struggle, because it brings the walls down, and just understand that we are all human walking through life together.
Yeah, and the best that we can support each other, the better. It's like I mentioned in the show, it's like, we so much judgment in this world, and it's time that changes and we start supporting each other instead, empowering each other instead. And just being there, someone just to just to say, I see you, I'm with you.
Exactly. I often just say a small tip to support someone: send a message, send a text, thinking of you. That doesn't require a lot. That's all. Sometimes the simplest things can be so hard. Like sending a message, thinking of you, reach out matters, because we are all craving this connection.
Absolutely. And sometimes it's until circumstances like this happen, you don't realize how much you need that connection, or that you've been away for a while, been so focused on whether it's business, your family, whatever, but how we need that outside connection. Like our spouses are great, our children are great, but we need, at least me, I need other women in my life. I need other connections. I need my colleagues. I need other people that just the same mindset, that's the same even work, to connect with and spend time with, and just empower each other.
It is. That's so true. Podcasts give me that little boost of inspiration. And I just listened to Brendon Burchard podcast this morning, and he said aliveness and connection and meaningful pursuits are what life is about. And that is in order for all of us to grow with grief. Those are some things that I've been able to find throughout this journey and throughout journaling specifically, it's been completely transformative. So I just encourage, if you aren't sure where to start, reach out.
Mm-hmm.
And you're not alone.
Yeah, absolutely. Not alone. That's the thing. There's always somebody that's been through what you have. May not look the same, but they have been through what you have. And yeah, it's just nice to have someone just say, you know, like, I get you. And they really do, you know. Yeah, even when things look different, it's like it's still somebody can understand. So you talked about community and wanting so much to create that community, find that community. Was that something you wanted as much before this happened?
I don't recall that at all. Although a lot of the grief that I've been through, I have always felt lacking of like a sense of belonging, and maybe I'm, working towards wholeness now. Like this is my story,
Yeah,
but not necessarily. It's different this time.
mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I've always just wanted to have, and I've had a lot of very good friends. And sometimes, you know, there's like I don't know what the saying is, but like some people are here for a lifetime, some are not. Some come from a short period of time to touch you for a bit and then they're gone. But I've always wanted to have really close friendships. That's always meant a lot to me. It's nice to bounce things off different people sometimes, and like I said, just somebody who can geek out about, like for me, geek out about coaching, or you know, that kind of thing, like I do. And I'm sure it's just the same for the community that you created. Is like you can get excited about the same things, you can relate to each other about what you're going through, all those things. It's just so important to have that community.
And in different seasons of life, whether
Yes.
it be through motherhood or career, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think of it as a tree, right? And all these branches and leaves.
Mm-hmm.
After grief, you establish new connections, and it's not always the old connections that you crave to. And it's just this constant evolution that has been one of the hardest parts, but is a normal process.
Mm-hmm.
So it's important to have various friends in different seasons.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Did, well, we only have a minute left. So I will ask a different question than I had. What is like just the last little bit, what would you say to someone who is just starting in this journey, unfortunately?
Seek the support you need.
Mm-hmm.
It has to do with allowing yourself to grieve.
Yeah. And that's it right there. Allow yourself to grieve. Don't keep it bottled up. And for me, I'd say take whatever time you need, and don't worry what anybody else says. Oh, you should be over it by now. No, no, your timing. Yeah. Thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate you and, being vulnerable and sharing your story. And I know that you've touched people, anybody that's been listening today. All of us as mothers can relate, even if we can't fully, even if we don't fully understand, we can relate. Because I think when one mom hurts, we all do, really. There's nothing like a child. So thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. We'll be back next Friday, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. And I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. Thank you again for joining us.
Thank you for tuning in to Transformation with Martine, real, raw, and vulnerable conversations. Listen or watch live every Friday at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern on TransformationTalkRadio.com as Martine and her guests have deep, meaningful conversations, sharing empowering stories. Step into your passions and lead with your heart. If you are ready to accept and love you for you, visit MartineEmmons.com and start allowing transformation to happen today.